On this episode, we put these bad boys in this truck. Let's do this. This episode is brought to you by XS Power. For all your battery needs, check out 4xspower.com. All right, in order to tackle the electrical system in this truck, we have to do a few things first. Firstly, I'm gonna take that bracket off right there, that little cross brace. Gotta remove that battery. Then I need to see where in the firewall I can drill out 2 holes and still make it, and get that wire to snake underneath all the junk that's underneath the dash. And we'll figure that out. Probably remove the factory alternator wire because I don't think there's enough thread on the back of that nut right there. I'm sorry, the bolt that comes out of the alternator to run more than 2 runs of power wire to it. We'll take a look. You know, it's not a bad idea to leave the factory wire. If it's there, it's there. You just add to it. Anyway, then we have to do the secondary battery. It's going to sit right here. Figure out where we're going to run our grounds for that. Got to cut a bunch of wire. Me, really? Of course it was a 10mm. God damn it. Oh, I saved my 10mm. All right, so I took this brace off here. However, this is in the way, this brace right here is in the way of me getting to the bolt to pull out. It's basically the bracket that holds the battery in place. So I gotta pull this out of here as well just to get that bolt out. Whatever. In this little valley here, now water does come down here, so you have to be careful, but it goes all the way down there. And along the firewall side, I'm going to drill 2 holes down there to run my wires. Let me show you where. And it's important that you use waterproof devices, or grommets, I should say, to be able to do this. So here is my wheel well, or I'm sorry, here's my kick panel. And basically right here, and I'm holding a camera, I'm holding the light here, so it's hard for me to use both my hands. Right here, boom and boom, I'm gonna take this rubber mat and move it out of the way. I'm gonna drill my holes right here and right here. And that should be good enough to run, as long as I have a grommet, it's waterproof, I should be fine to run my wires. That way I could bring the wires down through here. All right, so the original spot that I wanted to go to drill my holes, which was way down there, I just cannot do it. My arm's too small, or my arm's too big to get down there. Anyway, that was not a good spot. So we took the whole battery tray out, which is what I didn't want to do, but we did it anyway. And I drilled in these 2 holes. I put the nylon waterproof grommets in, one here, one here. They're just kind of held in place at the moment. And we're gonna go ahead and run our wire. Let's take a look at what it looks like under the dash. 1 spot, 2 spot. There we go. So 1 hole is going to be for our 0 gauge wire. It's going to run back to the salt amplifier, and the other hole is going to be for, I've got a power and a ground wire that's both 12 gauge. That's going to be used on the SDX 90.2, and I've got a 4 gauge wire I'm going to run. That's for a power inverter. I'm going to run in the vehicle as well. That hole, since I'm going to run multiple wires in that 1 hole, I'm going to have to use some strip caulking to make sure that it stays waterproof and no water gets in through the firewall. But anyway, there's that. And now I'm going to go ahead and run my power wire through the firewall. This will be the main power wire that runs to the salt amplifier. Before I go and I run that wire through the firewall, I went ahead and I set up my fuse holder. This particular fuse that's in here comes with the kit. It is a 300 amp fuse. Honestly, it's way more than I need. Probably need more like a 200, but screw it. We're gonna stick with 300 that it came with. So we're gonna run the wire down here. It's gonna come up and around underneath the battery bracket. Come up and around, come through here, come out and go to the battery. Or it might just come up through here. Either way, doesn't matter. We'll figure out which way is best. But yeah, you have to have a fuse, and it's got to be near your battery. So there we go. There's our fuse. All right. One that goes to the battery positive. And if you look right here, I've got 12 gauge speaker wire, which is again OFC, oxygen free copper, the good stuff. I did a power and a ground basically. This is for the SDX 90.2. There's I believe there's a 30 amp or 40 amp fuse in here. Honestly, it really only needs about 15 or 20. But anyway, so I soldered on a 12 gauge fuse holder. It comes with the wire already. So solder that on there, and then here's the ground for that. It's just gonna go straight to the battery. Also coming out of there, I've got our 8 gauge wire. This is going to be for the power inverter. Not really part of this install. I just know that I'm going to be running a power inverter. I'm gonna sit it. It actually will be sitting, I'll show you here. It's kind of dark in here. In the center console, below it is a whole nother console that really you don't use for much. You could put a gun there if you wanted to, but I'm gonna put my power inverter inside that. I'll just run my wires straight to there. So it's not a far run. 8 gauge wire is perfect. I think it's only like a 400 watt power inverter, so it's not too much. And so there's that. Now it's time for me to get the battery box in and get the battery in, tidy this up. I still need to run my wire for the alternator. and redo the ground that goes from this battery to the engine and this battery to the chassis. So we will do that here next. Let's see where we're at now. So we took the factory power wires and we put them together and tech flexed them and did some heat shrink, and these will all go in the same hole when we get the battery in here. We've got the power wire right here. Actually, this is the ground. Everything's gonna be run under that battery tray that we took out earlier. This is a ground wire that goes to the engine compartment down in there. It's hard to see. And then over here, we've got this battery in right now. We're working on it, putting the post on it. We've got the ground wire that goes to the battery here. There's also a ground wire that runs to the battery, or the body ground that's in the engine. You know, oddly enough, in these Sierras, one weird thing I've noticed is there's not a lot of body grounds in the, or chassis grounds is what I usually call them, that go to the battery. Seems like everything goes to the engine in these things. And then you have a couple of body grounds that go here. There's another one that's back in there, but oddly enough, everything goes from chassis straight to engine, but not from battery to chassis. They all go from battery to engine. So we're gonna add some extra grounding just to be a little safe on this bad boy. So, little teaser for you guys. We got Brandon and Jarrett from CustomSpeakerPods.com helping me finish the electrical part in here. That way we can get to the doors next. That'll be the next video. Give me a thumbs up. All right.
Yeah.
And we're still working on it. Just getting things terminated, almost to the point where we're done in the engine compartment. All right, we're pretty much done and wrapping up with the electrical in this vehicle. Let's go ahead and go over everything. Brandon's over there just finishing up with a couple of our power wires on that side, but we'll start over here and work our way that way. So over here, we've got ground on this side. Generally speaking, you want to have your ground closer to the body of the vehicle and your power being further away. So ground wire on this one, we've got two of them. We've got one that goes from here, wraps around and goes right there to the body ground of the vehicle. Again, that was extra, that was not from factory. I decided to just make that happen. And then we got this guy, comes off of here, snakes around and goes right underneath the alternator to that ground right there. On the power side of things, again, this is just a secondary battery. There's no, at this point in time, there's no load being put on. Well, there's a load, but there's no items being attached to it. So we just have this one power wire. It snakes around and goes right to there, to the alternator bolt. Now from this one, this is where both batteries, the one he's working on and this one, tie in. They tie in at the alternator itself. So this particular one, we still kept the factory alternator wire on. So that's the first one in line. Then we have this one here that snakes around, comes up the firewall over to wherever here where Brandon's working. And it comes all the way around And oh, hold on a minute, that's the wrong one. It goes to one of these guys right here. Oh, that's the power wire. So yeah, that's this guy right here. And then we've got one power wire goes to the fuse box, which is right there. That goes to the, that'll be for the Salt 1700.5. Got the other guy right here, which is this one right here. This is factory power, and we just kept factory power. That goes to that fuse guy right there, which is for the starter and the alternator, and it goes to that fuse box right there. And these guys, this red one is for the SDX 90.2, and this guy right here is for the power inverter whenever I decide to go that route. And here are the grounds that go to that as well. And we made a ground wire. Actually, let me get that. Goes from here, it snakes down. I know it's hard to see, but your factory ground is on the end of the head right here in the front. And so can we get the light in there a little bit better? There we go. See right there? There's your ground coming off the engine. So on that side, we had that one goes to that battery. On this side, we have this one that goes to this battery. And that's where the factory ground went as well. So that wraps up the electrical system. Obviously, everything goes through the firewall. I showed you guys that yesterday or earlier in the video. It's a little dark in here. There's just a mess of wires. Everything is pulled through. We've got those, hold on, what did you call those things again that we used? Glands. So I just call them waterproof grommets, you know, nylon lock grommets, whatever you want to call it.
If you're searching Amazon or anything like that, eBay, anywhere, gland will give you
Brandon
better
says,
results and other results.
Yeah, Brandon says you use the word gland if you're going to search for those. Maybe I'll find a link and put it in the description below for you guys.
Just be careful who's around you when you're looking up glands.
Yeah, you may find other things if you type in gland. So there's our mess of wires. This eventually, obviously, you guys know we're gonna gut the inside of this vehicle, bring all these wires through, and then they'll be going to the amplifiers and stuff. And the SDX amp, I'm probably gonna mount underneath the dash, like I was talking about earlier. Since it's so small, it'll fit somewhere within there. So anyway, guys, if you feel that you would wire this vehicle up any differently, I want to know about it. Or if you have done one of these vehicles, how did you do it? Make sure you comment. Like it, subscribe it, share the hell out of the video. We're signing off for the first video of the electrical side of this vehicle. You guys take care. Have a good evening. Oh, one more thing, guys. I don't know why I didn't mention this. XS Power. Obviously, you know, it's anytime you see me doing a build, I'm almost always doing XS Power in our vehicles. So here's a box for those guys. You remember it's the 3400. Hit up those guys there at XS Power. They'll set you up. They also have full tilt, and they also have their own branded terminal blocks as well. But check them out, guys. We'll put a link in the description below for XS Power as well. Take care.